Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of ClueCon Weekly. Today, joining us is Richard Fuchs from Sipwise, company specializing in all things unified communications. They have a lot of products and a lot of history in the industry, and Richard has too. So, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Would you like to give us a quick introduction about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Richard Fuchs. I've been with Sipwise for about 15 years now, I think. I'm mostly doing the media part of the platform that we make, like RTP and codecs and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
I'm also helping out with some network-related issues now and then. And in general, like systems development, that kind of stuff. And I am coming from a networking background a little bit from my previous work. That was at an ISP, actually. So yeah, that's networking media. That's kind of my thing.
You've been at Sipwise for a long time, right?
Yeah, I'm actually their first employee they ever had.
Oh, nice.
I was
Yeah.
I was supposed to be part of the ownership team, but then I decided to move to Canada at that time, and then we decided not to go ahead with that because that would be a bit awkward with the distance.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's yeah, things have well, maybe we can start from there. The times have changed and a lot of people more are using remote communication solutions, voice, video, whatever. So what's new? What have you been working on? What is the latest iteration of the products you've been working on?
So we are coming, I think, exclusively from a SIP and telephony background. That's what we've been doing, like a class 5 switch. That's what we're making. And like you said, we have been over time integrating more of the WebRTC part, conferencing into the platform. And we actually offered that as a kind of an add-on to the product, that if you, as a subscriber or as an operator, you can have conferencing going. So yeah, we are kind of moving into that direction as well. And that was also one of the reasons what I was talking about at my ClueCon presentation about the SFU features in RTP Engine, because we have the kernel mode forwarding in RTP Engine, which is a kind of unique feature in media proxies. And so we wanted to make use of that for conferencing as well.
So for the people who haven't seen your talk, can you give us a super short version, just a 5-minute intro?
Yeah, sure. So RTP Engine is primarily a media proxy, and there's obviously other media proxies out there. But the unique thing we're doing is that we have offloaded the media forwarding to a kernel module for the Linux kernel, which gives it a very decent performance boost. So about 10 times more calls you can handle at the same time on just one system. And it gets rid of a large part of the CPU overhead that's involved with doing the media forwarding. So that's the unique feature we have.
Nice. That's the so yeah, the idea of moving the media relaying to the kernel is something that I've actually heard about that a few times, but first time I've seen it implemented it was in your talk. So about the so there, there's been a couple episodes where at in Looking Weekly we mentioned class 5 and class 4 and those kind of switches, but I think not everybody in the audience knows what a class 5 or 4 switch is. So maybe we could also explain that terminology. What is a class 4 and class 5 switch?
That is actually a good question, and I would be the wrong person to ask that because I'm not quite sure myself either. That's something our marketing guys, they came up with this. I can guess that class 5 is one that basically does everything, including billing and that kind of stuff. But honestly, I'm not sure. I'm really just like, I see myself as a low-level developer who's just hacking away, like all this coming up with product names and selling that stuff. Not my thing.
Well, then, yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. So it's more of a marketing thing, right? It's not there's no really a true classification for that. It's actually very true. So, what are the typical users of your products? Like and what the size of maybe which markets are you more active in? I mean, Italy, is it, well, Europe, or the US, whatever. It's always interesting.
Yeah, so there's a few versions of our platform. It used to be called NGCP. Now it's C5, Class 5 switch. And the most basic one is the community edition, which is actually free. You can download it. You can use it for whatever you want. And then the next level up, that's the first commercial one. That's called Pro, which includes high availability. So you get two systems, they run together. And then the next level up is called Carrier. That's basically a whole chassis of servers, like at least 8 of them, I think. And that is for large carriers with tens of thousands of subscribers, possibly thousands of concurrent calls. And so, yeah, carriers and home users, even if they want to, who want to provide phone services, basically over SIP, over the network.
So yeah, it's a suite of products for providers, and you provide that. So is it software as a service? Is it on-prem? Well, not on-prem. I mean, technically you could do on-prem, but I mean, is this more software as a service? Is it something you install on your own machines? What's the structure of typical install?
So typically it's an appliance. You
Mhm.
actually get the machine. You can install it in your own network, whatever you want. Lately, we've been a little bit moving to like cloud services, and you can also do VM installations if you want to. That's also very popular lately. But yeah, traditionally it's an appliance, especially the Carrier one. You actually get the whole chassis to put in your rack.
Oh, nice.
With switches included and everything. Yeah.
That's I mean, there's a lot of market for that too. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people are rightfully wanting to go to cloud and thinking that cloud is a future, and that's certainly true to a degree. But I sometimes agree that the best thing is just to get it going on good old iron.
Yeah, I
Of
agree. And of course, we're selling the service, the support for it, rather. Yeah.
course, yeah, that's the thing. So, how many customers do you have, if you can say, like, not exact number, like how many people have been using your platform?
Good question. Somewhere over 50 at least that
Hmm.
are active. Those are the Pro and Carrier customers, of course. And then the community edition, no idea, to be honest. I think it's quite
No, okay.
popular. Yeah. But yeah, we don't really hear about that.
So you use an SFU for video, right?
Sorry?
Use an SFU for your video solution in your WebRTC.
Oh, yeah.
Going
So
back to your ClueCon talk.
we used to use Janus for that purpose.
Hmm.
And as we were looking into it, we kind of figured that what Janus is doing in this SFU mode is basically kind of a proxy with some extra features, such as media forking. And so we thought, well, we have RTP Engine, why not use that? And then we get the benefit of having the kernel mode for better performance, because that's one of the things we noticed, that when you're handling a lot of traffic with Janus, the CPU usage goes up, obviously. And
Does it?
so yeah, it depends on how many you have on the system, of course. But that's the reason why we made RTP Engine the way it is, to get rid of the CPU overhead of doing the forwarding, the media forwarding. And so, yeah, we figured, well, we have RTP Engine, might as well use that.
Yeah, for sure. The that's RTP Engine, as far as I know, is very very effective. In fact, if there's so RTP Engine, can we give the audience a little bit more information about what RTP Engine is? Because it's we mentioned how we use it, how you use it in the kernel, but not really what it is. So why do I need RTP Engine when I'm running some kind of WebRTC application, for example?
You don't need it for like it's.
But you might want it.
Yeah, if you want to. So it's coming from solving NAT problems from regular SIP phones, because regular SIP phones, they don't do ICE. And so if you have a SIP phone behind NAT and the other one is behind NAT too, they can't talk to each other. And so you need a proxy in between. That is was the main purpose of RTP Engine, still is. And the side effect, the benefit is if you have a proxy in between where all the media is running over, you can start manipulating it. And that is I think the first thing we did with RTP Engine is to add support for WebRTC, because WebRTC has some special requirements like encryption, ICE, RTCP multiplexing that regular SIP phones don't do. And if you have a media proxy in between that can translate between those, you can have regular SIP phones talking with WebRTC and vice versa. And I think that is one of the main use cases of people using RTP Engine outside of our platform on their own, to be able to connect regular SIP and regular RTP with WebRTC. So that is probably the main reason why you would want RTP Engine in a WebRTC environment.
Generally, transcoding, not even transcoding, I mean, transcoding is the wrong word. You use it for
Like
interconnecting systems, bridging systems.
We can do transcoding too, but it's not usually necessary, at least until so far, because WebRTC generally supports G711. That's like the common denominator. But if that ever goes away, I think there is talk about removing that and having Opus only. Then you could use it for transcoding as well.
What was the most complicated aspect of doing your own WebRTC implementation, which is actually quite complex, to be fair? What was the worst part?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
Probably the encryption part, because we have like a set of crypto suites that's like this long now with different implementations, and you have to do it differently. And we wanted to do it in the kernel as well, which is a bit of a challenge.
For sure, yeah, doing it in the kernel is not super easy. So that's the main thing. The kernel part is probably hard. Also, I think what we always found, I mean, not super hard, but it's generally challenging, is making sure you're compatible with the various browsers, which is not as easy as it sounds.
That is true, and in that aspect, I think the ICE implementation was the most difficult part, because the RFC for ICE, if you ever want to read it, it's quite good. It actually tells you exactly what you have to do, so you can actually write code directly from the RFC. But we did run into some problems, and of course, there's a library you could use. But at that point, when we were doing the implementation, I think the libraries weren't quite usable yet, or weren't even available. So we made our own implementation. And of course, that's what you get when you have one implementation here, another implementation there. Sometimes they don't like talk to each other. But I think at least in the most, I think at least I have not heard any big deal breakers recently with our ICE implementation. So fingers crossed, hopefully it's a decent implementation now.
ICE can also be very slow at times.
Yeah, especially if you start getting into the interplay between ICE and DTLS and maybe something else, which I've seen the problem, because first you need ICE, then you can start talking DTLS, then you can doing media. And yeah, not all browsers, not all clients do it the same way. and that was a bit tricky too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think still there are not many let's call them self implementations of WebRTC out there. So it's always, I'm always curious to hear what the main problems are. I'm very familiar with Frizzwich's own implementation, which
Mm-hmm.
has it's very good, but it of course it has its own set of discussions attached, right? It can be daunting to get this kind of stuff going at times. Still, I mean, very satisfied with what came out of it. So it is really something that I like talking about. Well, I mean, is there anything in particular you have in your platform that you'd like to discuss, or anything else you'd like to let us know? Again, I find it's a really interesting platform. So anything you like to look at, we're super happy to bring.
Nothing comes to mind right off the top of my head, really.
Cool. So, well, I mean, go look up. So, Sipwise is a great platform. It's it is probably one of my best favorite pure telephony products. So, and they've been around for a long time, and they're from Europe. So, go take a look and see how you like it. And yeah, well, any plans on speaking at conferences next, so we can follow up with you, or anything happening in the next few months?
In next few months, maybe not. I am kind of thinking about it. One of the things I've been working on with RTP Engine is to use GPUs for transcoding, which has been a very big project. And I am not aware of anything else out there other than maybe one commercial solution which does something similar. So that would be quite interesting to present somewhere. But I haven't decided yet, and it's still too early to actually have something to present. But it's kind of a wishful idea I have, that maybe if I can get it going by the next ClueCon, for example, then maybe I have something to talk about.
Well, of course. Then we're looking forward to that. We'll we'll see you there. Next ClueCon is a while away. It's next August, but we have an early bird ticket offer, if I'm not mistaken, right now. So
yeah,
go
I've
sign
seen
up.
it.
It's much cheaper now. Well, so well, thank you so much, Richard Fuchs from Sipwise, for joining us today, and for the rest of the audience, I'll see you next week.